The TAS is not a company. It is a leadership program. It is not a one-year program. It is not a 5-year program. It is not a 10-year program. It is a way of doing things.
So in the first one, I was working with Taj. That was a salon business that we had to set up a salon in Rambagh Palace Jaipur. Went there full of luxury, stayed there quite many times. The Maharaja Savai Man Singh, he had come down, met me, he told me that I want that this salon should be state of the art. From there, in the fourth stint, I dived into Tata Chemicals Basin Business Development Research project, for which I ended up going to Latur, interacting with farmers, procuring dals and a nice rickety hotel. The model doesn't turn up. She had some emergency. So believe it or not, thankfully the face was not there, but I had to actually even end up modeling for the earrings and the necklace, and I was like, oh God, what am I doing? TAS just pushes you into doing anything and everything, and then you realize your own potential also at times.
My name is Kaizad. I am part of the Tata Group. It is our job to look at grooming leaders, identifying them early enough, and having them go on their path to lead businesses, ironically, not only within the group, but across the business landscape in India and globally. Been born and brought up in the group, been working with the group for around 24 years now. Given the fact that we are a group that has existed for 150 years, there is always going to be a story behind why we exist for 157 years, while other contemporaries that may or may not have started with the right intentions at that point in time do not exist today. The TAS is not a company. It is a leadership program. It is a program that exists in the group for approximately 70 years, little less than 70 years. There is no company called the TAS, so you don't join a company that is called the TAS. But someone that joins the TAS, as long as she or he is part of the group, stays a TAS manager. Just a minute before I came up to speak, I was talking to another colleague from the TAS, and she did mention that every day, even for people like us who are part of the Tata Group, we find out something new about the group. Purely because of how diverse and how spread out the group is. Right? So again, the point I'm trying to make is that we have more than 100 operating companies. Each of those companies work with us and TAS managers on their careers through their time with the group. 1956 was a time when, actually before 1956 as well, the group already had a number of large companies that were leading the industrial revolution in India. The Tata Group is known to have put in place policies in their companies even before they were enacted as law in India. We had people who were extremely competent in doing the roles that were required in these organizations. At that time, while there is no formal entity called the Tata Group, there is no organization structure that is Tata Group. These are large independent companies. Even at that time, JRD and his team had a thought. How do I look at leaders who not only succeed in a particular Tata company, but can also, if required, go and operate across companies and across contexts, right? Which is the thought behind starting a program like the TAS. It is not general management for the sake of general management. It is not general management for the sake of doing what most of you want to do on campus, which is strategy. It is general management because you want leaders who are resilient enough to operate across different contexts. And those contexts don't only come by shifting from company A to company B. Even if you're in the same organization, and for those of you who have work experience, you would possibly have experienced that, even in the same company, operations of that particular company in, say, North India might be very different from the operations in East India. You might be a market leader in North India. In East India, you're trying to set up your products, right? So those contexts, it is with that reason that you set up a program like the TAS. How do I create leaders, as I said, who have the resilience to operate across contexts? It is not a one-year program. It is not a 5-year program. It is not a 10-year program. It is not a summer program. It is a way of doing things. You join into the program. You spend the first year very closely, I hate to use the term, but it is true, being managed by a central team which manages the TAS program. At the end of the first year, you then go into your first full-time role with a particular group company. But the central team, which is the TAS office, is constantly in touch with you and works with you and the company that you're a part of, as I said, to help you navigate your career through the group. These are the numbers that speak to the TAS. The senior most TAS officer that we have today within the group is from the batch of 1989. The junior most are batch of 24. Any questions on this slide?
What's the difference if someone joined in any Tata Group company compared to someone who has gone through this TAS program?
There are options on what kind of career path you can choose. There are options on, do I want to be in one particular function? There are options on, do I want to be with one particular industry or one particular company, but look at different functions, right? So what the TAS does is help individuals create those career options for themselves, right? Very consciously. Within companies also, when you join a Tata company, we have, as I said, large independent companies with their own HR departments, with their own leadership development departments that do that for employees within that company. But their landscape is that particular company. It might be very geographically spread, like possibly TCS. Today, any of these 150 countries that we spoke about on the previous slide will have someone from TCS sitting in that country, right? But those individuals have chosen their careers with TCS. They have the option to move. TAS is not the only option for employees within the group to move from company A to company B within the group. There are other mechanisms as well. But the TAS program is very structured. It's very deliberate. There is this engagement that we do constantly with task managers, jointly with the company that he is a part of. And those engagements are broadly in these areas, right? There are roles that task managers look at taking up through their careers. There are programs, interventions, both at the company level as well as at the group level that we jointly work with them on. There are opportunities for them to engage both within the community of the TAS, which is that 300 plus number that you saw, and with leaders across the group, right? So those are very deliberate interventions across all these three areas that the team at the group center works with the task managers and their companies. But with that freedom, as I said, comes accountability. Each individual task manager is accountable for his or her career. What the company does, what we do as a task office at the group center, is enable them to make those choices. So for a group that is as diverse as the Tata Group, you can't do a one-day induction, you can't do a one-week induction, you can't do a one-month induction. The full first year is an induction into the group. The batch normally joins in June. We join in a very amazing, lush, quiet, serene environment called TMTC, which is in Pune. You have 2 weeks of in classroom interactions with leaders, understanding some stuff about the Tata Group. You do what we used to call the Bharat Darshan, now it's called Tata Trails, wherein the batch travels across to various marquee locations of the group, which are plants, locations, tea estates across India. Then in the first year, every task manager, which is also a part of their induction, does 4 projects. 3 business projects, 1 project which is with either the Tata Trusts or with our group companies in their social outreach programs, which is what you used to call CSR. Each of these projects and this entire first year allows us to give the individuals who are part of this a small glimpse into what it means to work with the Tata Group. And believe you me when I say it, 1 year is also not enough, right? What the first year effectively does is that it allows you as individuals who may be part of the TAS program a choice and help you make that decision on where you would want to see your first role. While you're part of a program that is called general management, it's a general management program, that's the way we've always referred to the TAS. At any given point in time, you are always working with a particular company in the group in a particular function. So you don't specialize. The way you specialize in general management is through exposure across different contexts, which different functions might provide you and different companies might provide you. And at times, different geographies. Maybe I'll take 2 or 3 questions more.
So I have a rather specific question. May seem a bit far-fetched at this point, but I just, as well ask you. At the end of this year, this 1 year, let's say I'm into TAS and I'm having an interim review, and I want to go into, say, Tata Capital, but you or Tata as an entity feels that I'll be a better fit at LXC or, say, Titan or whatever it is. In that scenario, whose say matters more? Is it me, or do we have to come to a consensus, or do you, dictate the terms of it?
I will be honest, between company and individual, company will take precedence, but it's not that we direct individuals ki tumko ye role hi lena hai. Even at the end of the first year, like you do on campus, it is actually a placement process which we are going through right now for the batch of 24, who will get into their first roles by July of 25. So you have the opportunity to apply to more than one organization. The organization has the opportunity to interact, not intervene, but interact with you. And it is then a choice. So like on campus, there might be a task manager who gets a preference from more than one organization. There might be more than one task manager who applies to a particular role and only one person gets chosen, right? So it's fairly balanced. And that freedom of choice for both the company as well as the individual works for the task manager through his or her career. Being super specialized in the fact कि मुझे यही करना है इसी company में इसी office में यहीं पे बैठ के is not always possible. You also need to be a little more open in your mind कि yes, if I get a foot into this particular company, maybe at some level I will then navigate my career within that company to then get my plum job. Thank you so much. All the very best for your MBAs. Hope to see some of you within the context of the group, whether through the TAS or through some of the other programs that a lot of our group companies run. But we are not choosy. We're happy if anyone joins anyway into the Tata Group. So thank you. And the sun is shining outside, so that's great.
Hi everyone, I'm Hima. I'm currently EA to Dr. Praveer Sinha, who's the MD and CEO of Tata Power. I did my undergrad from IIM Indore. I did my MBA from IIM Kozhikode. Interned with TAS in 22. Joined TAS full-time in 23. And now I'm in Tata Power. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
I'm from Delhi. I've done my engineering, electronics and communication, worked for a year, and then I did my MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur, 2010 batch. I was lucky enough to get selected for TAS Summers, so I interned with Tata Teleservices, and thankfully also made it to TAS. So as Kaizad was mentioning, there are 4 stints that we do. So the 4 companies that I've worked for are Taj, Tanishq, and through Sir Dorabji Tata Trust, a rural stint, and Tata Chemicals. Post which I decided to take a completely different role and went on to Tata Communications, Telecom B2B. And from there we had a realignment of business, so went on to Tata Teleservices within that role. 3 years worked as product manager for broadband and ILL, and after which I worked with Titan, 3 years area business manager for watches. After which I wanted to get into a role where there is some startup and something new that we are getting into. So I got into Tata Smart Foods. At that time, we were launching ready-to-eat meals, worked there for 3 years. And then went on to Tata Business Excellence Group. After which I worked for Tata Consumer Products. And now in Tata Motors, which is the last, so I won't bore you more. Consumers was business integration and transformation. In Tata Motors, I'm heading the small commercial vehicle business in the international business space. So that's a slightly long introduction.
Oh, that's a perfect introduction and quite an interesting journey out there. So what was your summer internship like and where was it? I think I missed it.
So I worked with Tata Teleservices. And as somebody of you were asking that, how does the placement happen? In summers, of course, we were assigned projects. And it was a mixed bag. We thought that some of the projects were really nice. But actually, later we realized that all of them were great. So initially, when I got my project, it was a complete strategy project. And I thought that, I have to devise the ILD strategy for Tata Teleservices. 1 year into working and devising a strategy for a company in telecom. But it was an insightful role in the 2 months that I worked. And one of my friends, she had 4 years of experience in technology. She got Tata Technologies and she was like, oh, this is again technology that I'll end up in. But it was a global role and she was placed in US. So she got global insights. So all roles that are designed for the TAS program, the idea is leadership. So no matter which sector, what kind of role, is it strategy, consumer research, number-driven, all roles in that sense are made with that kept in mind. So my 2 months were great, a lot of learning, but at the end when I was again presenting, I was thinking it is such a strategy pure project, how will I manage through? But I included a lot of research, secondary research, spoke to a lot of people. I bound a project notebook. So when I went for my interview, I actually shared that with all the panelists. And I think that also surprised them. So worked out well for me.
So cut to PPO, you got placed. So what was year 1 like? Because that would have been completely different from your internship, right? Across different sectors, different kinds of exposure, different industries. What was a highlight of that and what was the ups and downs of that journey?
So in the first one, I was working with Taj. That was a salon business that we had to set up a salon in Rambagh Palace, Jaipur. Went there full of luxury, stayed there quite many times. The Maharaja, Savai Man Singh, he had come down, met me. He told me that I want that this salon should be state-of-the-art, that salon, and please ensure that the guests don't get disturbed, so there should be no noise in the afternoon time. So I assured him that we'll work at night or odd times, and we'll have soundproofers so that it doesn't disturb. From there, in the 4th stint, I dived into Tata Chemicals Basin Business Development Research project, for which I ended up going to Latur, interacting with farmers, procuring dals. At that time, we were launching pulses. So I was working for MOPU, More Pulses program. And from lap of luxury to Latur was fun. interacting with the sarpanch, understanding polished dal, unpolished dal. My mother was very happy that my daughter is now finally able to differentiate between all the yellow dals that are there, and a nice rickety hotel. So a lot of good fun. Even my second stint was very interesting with Tanishq. So I was given this project of improving online e-commerce sales, and most of our business is through the offline format at that time was. So I researched and found that a lot of young audiences coming on the website, and white gold is something which is really in, and the youngsters, I don't know now, it might have changed. But at that time, that is what I proposed. So my boss said, yes, go ahead, you launch your collection and then let's see how the sales go. So in 3 months' time, I had to select what all products we should put up, tie in the back end, get it produced in the factory, should be available in the e-commerce basket. And while I was doing all that, arranged for a photographer for a photo shoot to put up the products, images on the website. And then the model and the photographer, everything lined up on a Saturday, and the model doesn't turn up. She had some emergency. And I had about 15 days of that stint left. So I did not want to push it out, otherwise I would have gone, somebody else would have come, and I don't know if they would have been able to do it with the same zest in that sense, because I had researched on the project. So believe it or not, thankfully the face was not there, but I had to actually even end up modeling for the earrings and the necklace, and I was like, oh God, what am I doing? And I will not share this with anyone, but here I am. So I think very interesting. TAS just pushes you into doing anything and everything, and then you realize your own potential also at times.
So basically, you can be thrown anywhere into anything and you'll emerge victorious.
Hopefully. How were your stints through?
Quite fun. I did my internship with Tata Motors. I was with the sustainability team. So it was a pure research internship. And it was great fun. I walked into it open to anything. TAS asks if you have a preference for marketing or operations. I walked into it with no set thoughts in my head. And I was handed the sustainability internship, and I came out of it thinking this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. It was transformative in that sense. So I did not get through the PPO process. I sat for the PPO. I got out at the interview stage. And then I applied again in my finals. And I converted that. And it was an exhilarating experience because I was in France. I was coming back from my student exchange program. So I remember sitting at Charles de Gaulle in the morning, giving an interview and saying, I think I can do TAS if you would like to have me again. I found the experience interesting. And they were like, yeah, sure, why not? So yeah, that happened. Then the first year was dizzy in terms of the absolute variety that I got. I started off with consumer research at MIA. I went on to do carbon credit strategy at Tata Power, then digital transformation at consumer products, and finally a community stint at Tata Capital for education platform. So it was dizzy. I mean, I don't think I've seen that kind of variety ever.
I think the highlight was also the rural stint. So apart from the 3 business stints that we have a rural stint. And we are placed with either the Sir Dorabji Tata Trust or Sir Ratan Tata Trust across different companies, different NGOs, remote locations. And when you go down, it is such a humbling experience. Like some of the task managers actually chose to pursue and work with the trusts, even in full-time roles. I mean, when you're working with the farmers and they call you home, and it's very humbling. And that is, I think, the idea of also putting the stint. The first year gives you a very end-to-end view of the universe out there. And then you can go and choose your first year, second year. And as Kaizad was mentioning, it is actually a marriage between both. So if the company has the roles accordingly, location, and you also want a particular function. Like for me, I wanted to grow in marketing. So I had asked specifically that I definitely want to do a sales role at some point in time. So after my 4 stints, there was no role available at that time and I also had a location constraint of wanting Bombay. But after my first role, I did the second one in Titan, which was an area business manager, out and out, complete sales role. So I think it is also timing, as he was mentioning, that what do you want versus what the companies can offer and what function you want. Somebody might also have location. So there are just too many parameters to marry. But it all comes together if you really want it.
How has that flexibility worked out for you? Because, I think the most interesting part about TAS is that you get the role that you want, then you can switch across different companies. So how has that flexibility worked out for you?
So for me, the switches were actually more growth oriented most of the times. The first role that I did it for 3 years, and then I realized that enough of telecom, now I want to do something more challenging, want to, as marketing was my interest, get into more retail facing, consumer facing, and Titan role came in. All credit to TAS office to get me that role, and interviewed for it, thankfully made it. After which, then location was playing a role. I was getting Bombay, Gujarat. It was difficult to travel to Gujarat at that point. Also, headquarters were Bangalore. So then I thought, okay, let me look at something more exciting and what I can get in Bombay. And I again bugged TAS office. And they said that Smart Foods, it's a new business that we're getting into, very exciting. Role might be a little hazy because it's like a startup. So you'll end up doing everything, a lot of things. And I actually went and did out of home, outdoor, went to TCS Hinjewadi, did a pilot there, reached out to a food aggregator, got the machine installed. So, it was completely different, had never worked in FMCG space before that, which is why it is all up to you. And there are also friends and TAS batchmates who have continued to stay in the same company. So one of my batchmate, he's working in Trent, and all through he's been in Trent, but he's got a variety of roles within that. So he was EA to Mr. Noel Tata in his first role, after which he has done different roles, operations, marketing, now he's a business head. So it's all about what kind of variety you are looking at and what can be offered. But TAS, being the leadership program, is given a lot of weightage. And, those roles are specially crafted to be able to bring out the best in you.
I have 2 more questions. In terms of all of the diverse experiences that you've had, which one would you say has been, the most formative, the one that is at the crux of the TAS program, but also at the crux of who you are today as a business leader?
I think to answer that, I'll just brief a bit that, it has really tied in very well with my professional and personal journey. So I think that way, the Tata Group, the TAS program, the kind of flexibility and adaptability they give you, I feel very proud that being a women leader at this stage. So I think at heart, I'm a very hardcore business and number person. So I really enjoyed my Titan stint, and currently in Tata Motors, 1.5 months into the role, really enjoying, heading small commercial vehicles, engine, what is the torque, what is the vehicle, what is competition. Next week I'm traveling to Dhaka and going to analyze what is the road length, the turnability of our vehicles. So I think that is unimaginable outside.
Fair. Any advice for the young bright minds here?
I think, be happy with whatever you get is what I would say. So there were very different roles, different stints, and at some points I was like not entirely sure, but I think all of them added so much value, and I went with full zeal that, whatever I've got, let me now try to make the most of it. So I think that really helped and worked out for me.
So an open mind with TAS, and TAS takes you places.
For sure. Great. Are there any questions?
So my question was, you guys had the first-hand experience of how it is being in TAS, and one keyword that is probably being talked about is leadership. What do you think TAS's service instills in the future growing leaders, that is, you can observe in all your colleagues and the young leaders budding into throughout? So what your thoughts will be on that?
I think one is being humble, as I said. That's why the rural stint, I think it just puts you there on the ground where you see ground reality people around. I was involved in making a business case for mangoes and onions that they were producing, literally living in huts, and they were offering us corn, butta, because they didn't have much to eat. So I think that runs across all threads. And the other thing is doing the right thing. You know, whenever any proposal, there is anything that can it be fast-tracked through any means, there are no questions. So I think we are too Tataized in some form and shape that, you know, just doing the right thing the right way. And I think that works out well for all of us.
So, Pankhuri, initially I have question for you. You've been in the TAS for so many years. So, how was the change? As in, you've been into vivid roles. How was the change, and how did you adapt? Also, like when you decided you wanted to change, did you have any guidance for the same? So, can you please tell us about?
So to answer you in terms of adapting and changing, I think TAS office in the first year when we are doing different roles, there are connects that we keep happening. And after the first year also there's an end-term review where we meet our own TAS batchmates. We also have a panelists whom we present what all we have done. So our interaction with the senior leadership is quite high in that sense. Like Mr. Mukundan, I just met him once. Then I wrote to him and he said, sure, let me meet you for 30 minutes. So I think that kind of, openness or that sort of mentorship that you have is quite high. And he is, of course, very senior. But there are many senior TAS managers, even on LinkedIn. So you also can reach out. And TAS also keeps having these connects. We had a connect very recently in March, where in one of the Tajs, we have it. So you get to interact with a lot of senior, junior, what's happening, what am I thinking, where do I want to go? And you can seek advice. You're also given advice. As I said, one of my batchmates, he was very happy with Trent. So he did not want to move around. In fact, there's one more senior TAS who heads the international business. So he's been in motors throughout. But he moved from international to domestic commercial, to trucks, to countries, doing different things. So it's actually, I think, largely your own appetite because it is your life and your journey, your aspiration. But everybody will help you to get there.
I am a graduate. I have been working for Air India for 5 years right now. But someone from a fancy B school, he comes and he sits on top of me, or I'm working in Tanishq for 5 to 6 years. And now, even after working 5 to 6 years, I am guided by someone who comes from outside. So after working in TAS, how were you received by the employees of all these companies? Doesn't that cause any kind of a rift?
It's a good question. So even in motors that I've joined, I'm general manager. And I was just sharing that I'm interacting with DGM, Deputy General Manager, senior managers, going to the Pune plant. And a DGM himself, his child, first year in BITS Pilani Engineering. So he has about 25, 30 years of experience. And initially when I joined, people thought, she is going to be general manager here. And I have seen it on my face as well, that people were very skeptical in terms of age, etc. But I think you earn that with time. So I have spent 1.5 months. Now I know last 10 years turnover of small commercial vehicles, which countries we are doing very well, which countries we are not doing well. Dhaka or Bangladesh is our biggest contributor. So I'm going next week to understand. So when you start adding value to those discussions, like recently I was in a discussion and my junior, she was leading it. I was very new to the entire thing. So then I just asked simply that if 30% of your parts are going to change in a vehicle, it's about 1/4, the vehicle dynamics would change and maybe we'll need a new certification. And she was like, yes, I didn't think of that. And it had nothing to do with automotive in general, but it is your own thinking. And I asked it very naively because I don't know so much as of now. And she said, yes, good point. And then we reached out to the certification team and they also came back and said, yes, you might need an extension if there is a change of 25 to 30% parts. So I think that respect starts coming in the minute you start adding value. And while we have been talking about the platform and everything that the group or the companies or the TAS office do, but as a person, when I am out there, for me also to be impeccable, I keep thinking, why am I TAS? How am I different from a management trainee or from somebody who has 20 years experience? What more am I bringing to the table? Why do I deserve to be here in an elevated position? Which is why I also do my groundwork, research, and then it shows. So yes, I mean, you develop it or you earn it slowly, but the way when people start seeing what value you're bringing to the table, it really helps.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much, ladies.